Good evening and welcome. Bang on time. Well, just a minute over. Come on, you got to give me a little bit of a break. It's this is a bit strange. This is doing a live feed. It's been that long. Have you missed me? Have you actually missed me? I think has it been 2 weeks or just a week? It feels like forever, doesn't it? Good evening, Frank Casey, just in the house. Have you enjoyed the football, Frank? Tell us more. Tracy Dodds, good evening. How are you? Julian Leaves, Steve Pace, Adam Hudson, Graham Allison, Michael McLaughlin. Good evening to you, sir. Did you enjoy the football? I just thought I'd mention it, Michael. Have you on the edge of your seat? Sub videos. Oh, sub videos in the house. Jay Bird, dog training. Hello, my British friends. Good evening, Jay Bird. Okay, so what we're going to cover first, we're going to cover Trump. Should we cover Trump first? Jesus, lucky bastard, bunny. Hey? Turned his freaking head. Turned his head. Bloody lucky. See, did you see my profile picture I put up for you for tonight? Prince Charles with his ears. He is not going to America. Ear, says Graham Allison. That was the joke. Ear. Prince Charles with his big ears. He would be a freaking right candidate, wouldn't he? To have his ear lobe punctured. So, what's been happening? Anybody been doing anything to do with dogs lately? She's had me in the garden. No, that sounded a bit dirty, didn't it? She's had me gardening. Not that she's had me in the garden. That's between her and me. And her is Susie Two Shoes in the background. So she wouldn't tell you anyway. Anyway, that's too much information, isn't it, Susan? Too much information. That's the way of getting your ear pierced. Yeah. Eh? Have you seen all the conspiracy theories already? Conspiracy theorists? I just think it was a bit of a shit show. I mean, not being funny, when people are telling a policeman that there's a bloke on the roof with a gun, it could have been protection people, couldn't it? You just don't know, do you? There's a guy on the roof with a gun. But they reckon the policeman was too fat to get on the roof. Or he looked at him, he had a gun, and he got off the roof. Never mind. Anyway, enough of the politics of the USA. What about our politics? So many things have changed since we last spoke. Labour's in charge. How about that? Labour's in charge. What's that going to do for hunting? What's that going to do for shooting? Hey, what's that going to do for everybody? Did I say good evening to Julian? He sneaked in, didn't he? Third in the house. Oh, good evening, Tracy and all. See that? He don't mess around, does he? What a smoothie. What a smoothie that man is. Removing ticks from the Springer. Anyway, has anybody heard from our Australian friend who was quite chatty 2 weeks ago? 2 weeks ago. He seems to have I think someone took him out. Adam Hudson, I've got to agree with you. Same circus, different clowns. Yeah. I got to agree with you. There. So anyway, one of the things I've been noticing, I think I've become old school. Nowhere. Where's he gone? Yeah, exactly, Adam. I was. He came in like a bolt of lightning, didn't he? And he was so interactive, and then suddenly he's either learnt to calm the fuck down, or he's left the auditorium. Perhaps I said something too direct. I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think you can upset our Australian friends, can you? You can't upset our Australian friends. I haven't heard a thing since your voiceover video. Right, Adam. That might be the reason. That might be the reason then. There you go. Sometimes the truth hurts, doesn't it? It's not all about monthly membership. I've got to earn a living, but it's not always about Martin Lawrence. Good evening to you, sir. Could be a Robert in the making. Yeah, exactly, Steve. Anyway, we're open. We're open for everybody. Open all hours, as we say, don't we? On our group, open all hours, open for everyone. One of the things I was going to say is I've been watching a few videos lately. I think I'm so far behind with dog training. It's unbelievable. Everybody's using poles now, aren't they, to teach the dog to hunt from pole to pole, pole to pole. Well, I know a very, very famous, successful English trainer who used to have one guy to the left of him, one guy to the right of him carrying a gun, and they used to go "Woo!" and then throw a pigeon out right at their feet, and the dog used to race right across the gun, pick the pigeon, come back, and then they move on, and the other guy, after a couple of casts, would do the same thing, make noise, throw out the pigeon, and the dog would run from gun to gun, gun to gun. And when you're out training, do you need a dog to run from gun to gun, gun to gun? No, you don't. No, you don't. Good evening, Jonathan Wakefield. You don't. You need a dog to quarter in front of you. But how many people are putting artificial hunting into their dogs, right? By using weave poles, by getting the dog to run the pole and run the other pole. Are we not becoming robotic trainers? So you want a pattern on the dog, and you want the dog covering the ground, don't you? Making good ground treatment. But do you really want that dog to be a robot? Because what happens if it's a backwind? What happens if it's a side wind? What are you going to do? Change your poles? I wonder what Keith Erlandson would think. I wonder if Keith Erlandson would now look at modern day gun dog training and think it's circus tricks. Now tell me I'm wrong. You know, there's 20 people in here. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me, no, Chris, you've missed the boat. Everybody's now using food, and they're getting the dog to run round the pole, and then he gets the food. Round the pole, back to me, and then you get the food. And they're saying, Michael McLaughlin, first poults arrived this week. Always begin to look forward to the start of the new season, September, October. Roll on. Yep, I agree. I love the changing seasons. I absolutely love changing seasons. So what are we making? I thought years and years ago, Keith Erlandson said to me, I let the dog do the hunting and I do the shooting. But he didn't actually say it that way. What he actually said to me was, my dog can't shoot very well. So my dog does the hunting because I can't hunt very well. And I do the shooting. But the dog's got to hunt within the range of the gun. I just think that's so simple. I think that is the most simple thing. Now, I watched somebody talking about cockers aren't very good hunters. Cockers aren't very good hunters. Hello? Can somebody help me here? They're not very good hunters. I keep it simple, stupid, says Graham Allison. I thought you just wanted to give me a kiss then for a second. I literally watched a video of this guy selling himself as a dog trainer. He's been reasonably successful. And he says cockers are not very good hunters. So to get them hunting, we have to motivate them in a completely different way. Well, I personally think, and I may be wrong here, we've got people in our group who've got little cockers that are flying machines. Real pacey little flying machines. A pleasure to watch. So why have they got dogs that are a pleasure to watch? Oh, it might be they've not suppressed them. It might be they've not put the obedience into them too soon. How about that? That might be the reason. If you put the control into the cocker and it doesn't want to do it, you've got to make it do it. And one of the old sayings is, you can make a springer do it, but you can't make a cocker do it. You've got to make the cocker want to do it. It's to do with gameplay. Exactly, Steve. Gameplay. And I've seen cockers do have a real personality. They do, without fail, Michael. They do. But the difference is I think they hunt tighter than a Springer Spaniel. Does anybody agree with me or not? Good evening, Abigail French. 10 press-ups, you're late. 10 press-ups, you're late. Evening, everybody. What time do you think this is? It's 20:41. You're 10 minutes late. Does anybody agree with me that they think cockers will hunt tighter than springers? I have a tendency to think, with the experience I've got, subvids. How do you install a hunting pattern? Cheers. What is a hunting pattern? Subvids. If you're teaching a dog to run around posts, and you 10 press-ups, Nigel, 10 press-ups. You're freaking 10 minutes late. No, 12 minutes late. 10 press-ups. It depends what you want. Do you want the dog to be a natural hunting machine, or do you want the dog to be a robot? Do you want to condition the dog? Figure of 8 says figure of 8 question marks. He wants a figure of 8. So do you want a figure of 8 all the time, or do you want the dog going out and working the backwind, or do you want a crosswind? It don't look like a figure of 8 when there's a crosswind, does it? Because one side's going to be bigger than the other when you're working a crosswind. Why are cockers more prone to spinning circles? Yep, exactly, Adam. And that's the whole point. That's the whole point. So, I've gone backwards and I'm missing the bigger picture, because that's what I'm up for. Windscreen wiper. Yes, a windscreen wiper pattern. I've never ever been on a trial where they've gone, hang on, let's turn around and work into the wind. When you get in the line, sometimes you've got a crosswind, sometimes you've got no wind, sometimes you've got a wind blowing a gale, sometimes it's on the nose, and sometimes it's behind you, headwind. You've got headwind, you've got a backwind, you've got a crosswind. And when you cast the dog off, I tell you that some of the judges wouldn't know the difference between the hunting pattern using the dog using the wind naturally. Some judges have been brainwashed that a dog should only be within 15 feet of you from doing that figure of 8 and not coming out of that figure of 8. Disagree. Totally disagree. So is it just controlling the direction? Well, when you say controlling the direction, sub videos, when you talk about controlling the direction, if you've got the dog in front of you, you don't want the dog hunting behind you. So you're controlling the direction because you're moving forward with the dog. But the direction of the dog depends on the wind and how it's been trained. If it's been trained, isn't it 15 foot a kennel club rule, a trial? In a trial? No, I don't think so. I don't think there's no such thing as a rule in a trial. I think it's all to do with what's the word they use? I don't think they call it rules, do they? What do they call it? Oh, it's on the top of my head. That was then, Adam, and it's gone. But I don't think they call it the rule. I think it's the requirements. The requirements. Making good ground, not missing cover. Guidelines. There you go. That's what I was looking for. It's guidelines. It's not rules. Because one rule could be completely different to interpretation from one judge to another judge. I've been under some judges. J-Regs, says Steve Pace. Freaking these boys are all getting it now, aren't they? Hey, they're all reading them J-Regs. I've been under some judges, and they've said, listen, mate, if you don't let your dog open up, I'm going to knock you for not trusting your dog. I've been with other judges who said, hey, mate, you need to get that dog back in because it's taking in too much ground. and I've gone, it's working a backwind. If you notice, I'm standing still when it gets out there and it's working back to me. Oh, how do you get the dog to do that? I mean, how do you get the dog to do that? And you're judging me? There you go, Adam. I didn't mean rule, but I couldn't think of the word. We have no rules in our club, do we? We have suggestions, guidelines, gaywags. And so I think it's a good subject, but I watched a video of a guy using weave poles, really, isn't it? And get the dog to run from pole to pole, pole to pole, pole to pole. And the reason he said he does it is because cockers are prone not to hunt when you cast them off. So you get them to come round the poles for food. Well, I just wonder what Keith Erlinson would say these days. I just wonder what Keith Erlinson would say these days. It would be absolutely amazing, because he was about one of the only trainers. There you go. A hunting man has different requirements than trialing. I don't know, Michael, whether it should be, though. That's another discussion, isn't it? We've had many a time in our group. What do you want? Do you want a thinking dog, or do you want a dog that's a robotic, listens 100% to the handler and doesn't come off any line, doesn't think for itself, doesn't use the wind? Where do you draw the line between sense and sensibility? Are we not going away from the natural hunting dog? There's nothing finer than watching a dog hunting and then suddenly turning and punching a bird out off that pattern that you wanted, but produces a bird right on the edge of that pattern that you want. And as long as that dog produces that bird, that dog's going to do well in competition. The dog that goes past it and then the gun walks into it and the bird gets up. Because you've got to be careful, because if you're running in competition, normally you may have two guns either side of you, but you'll normally have one gun either side of you, and the other competitor will be the other side of you. Sometimes they're a long way from you, other times they're right close in with you, and they'll have two guns. Now, if a bird gets up and your dog puts the bird up and your gun shoots it, it's simple for the judge to say, send your dog. If your dog puts the bird up, it crosses across the other dog, that gun on the outside shoots it, some judges will say that's for that dog. But technically, if your dog flushed it, it's your bird. So what a lot of guys do, they like to keep the dogs tight, because if they keep the dog tight and a bird gets up, it's going to be shot close. Where a confident gun will let the dog open up, as long as it's not missing ground. And when I say a confident gun, a confident handler, as long as it's not missing ground, making good ground treatment. Because you can trust the dog that you've shot over on a regular basis. And like Michael says, hunting man has a different requirement than trialing. I agree to a certain extent what Michael says, but technically, a good hunting dog, a good trial dog, should be a good shooting dog. The one thing I could say, and I said this in one of my videos with one of my winning dogs, although he won a trial and he picked up, I think, 15 awards in between in open stakes as well as novices, he wasn't the paciest dog and he wasn't the flashiest dog, but he did it on trainability, because he'd been trained to a very high standard and could handle pressure, could handle any situation. So you get into a trial with him and you've got somebody waiting in line with you, and you're in line waiting, and you turn around and they're sweating like a rapist, and you look at him and think, fucking hell, you've either got a shit dog here or you can't handle your nerves. And they go to me like something like, I've had it so many times over the years, oh, there's so many freaking birds here today, it's unreal. I think, thank God for that. I want birds. I want to show my dog off the best I can. You don't show your dog off if there's no game there and the dog's just got to hunt for the sake of hunting and hunt for 30 minutes and find nothing. You're going home with nothing if your dog doesn't find something. So if there's lots of birds at the trial, I'm in the element. I want it. Why? because I work my dogs in the beating line. I work them in the beating line, but I protect them. I look after them. When I say I look after them, I go to a shoot where the keeper knows that these are competition dogs, and you just don't let it run riot on the shoot. Isn't it the purpose of trying to award natural ability? Well, that's exactly what it should be, Adam. You're right. As Graham says, it should be, but they're taking away the natural ability by turning them into pole dancers. Run the pole, not pole dancers with your breasts out. Stop it. So where are we going? Where are we going? Are we taking away the natural ability? A good rough shooter wants a dog that'll smash cover to pieces without being told. Go up edge and stay on that edge. Produce birds, stop when told. Get out and pick them and bring them back. What's wrong with that? What's the difference with that? Don't you want that in a competition dog? That the judge thinks, wow, this dog really is enjoying this. This dog knows what it's all about. Because I always say, you can train the dog, and it might take you to a trial dog with plenty of birds tied dog has the advantage of trial with less birds. Hunting dog. Hang on, I have to read that one again. This is hey, I like this. So a trial dog with plenty of birds. So a trial with plenty of birds. Dog has an advantage. The trial with less birds, hunting dog has advantage. The problem is, Michael, I'm not talking about a trial with no birds. A trial with no birds is a nightmare because everybody hunts for 45 minutes, 50 minutes. They get no birds in the air. They get no birds shot, and the judges don't give out awards because they've not really seen a dog, flush, stop, get to the fall, get the bird back in the bag. And many a trial has been ruined because not enough birds. But what I'm saying is, hotspot, put me in a pen with 30, 40 birds up against the net. If you've got a well-trained dog, it's an advantage in some ways because you're going to put birds up in the air without fail, aren't you? But you've got a disadvantage if you haven't got a trained dog because when they shoot it, where does the dog look? If there's 20 birds come out of a pen all at the same time up against the netting. But what happens is if you can control that dog and you're working the pen, you can actually keep that dog where you want to keep it on the whistle. If you have to control it because it's pulling a little bit because it wants to get onto the birds. But as long as it's turning on the whistle, the judge is going to knock you. The judge is going to knock you if you're whistling and it's not listening. No one gets put out of trial for using a whistle to turn the dog. As long as that dog turns sharp on that whistle. So in that situation, I can handle that dog. I can push that dog into the corner and have a massive flush and get them birds in the air. Or I can wait till all the birds in the pen are in the corner and have a massive flush, and then it's a nightmare because when they go bang, 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 4 guns shooting everywhere, and the judge says, send your dog, where do you send your dog? Half the time, they've got to take you outside the pen and say, right, there's a bird down there because dog can't get out of the pen. It flushed them from the corner of the pen. But what I'm saying is the skill set is being able to have a dog in a hot situation. And if you work the dog on a shoot or, and you work the dog regular on a shoot, that dog's got an advantage over a person who doesn't work it and only shoots over it for competition. So I think a good competition dog should be a well-polished shooting dog. The one disadvantage is if your dog hasn't quite got that extra go in it until it gets on game, it ain't going to impress the judges unless it's on game. Where those dogs that just hunt for the sake of hunting, like we say, we're looking for a dog that hunts concrete. Those dogs impress judges because the dog thinks, freaking now look at that head down, look at it go. Well, that's what you want. You want a dog that'll hunt like that, but you also want a dog that can be controlled as well. There's the difference. I'd rather go to a trial where there's birds everywhere because guess what? Half the people are put out very quickly because they lose control straight away. It's just too hot for them. And I've seen people, like I say, sweating like rapists. And know, not just very novelty people neither. Some of the film stars. Oh, there's just too much game here. This is ridiculous. Is it? Is it?
Michael McLaughlin's got a question.
Question: partridges or pheasants? Which is the best for trialing? I find that partridges run on a lot more than pheasants, personally, Michael. I've had more pheasant over the years, far more pheasants trials than anything. Up Yorkshire and Scotland, you'll get more rabbits. Partridges are part and parcel of. You'll get partridges on the odd occasion. Some of the shoots you go on, some of the estates you go on, will have partridges, and it's just part and parcel of it. It doesn't matter to me. But down here in Cornwall, we tend to train on pheasants, and we get the odd partridge. We don't get that many partridge, but I think in the last 10 years, I think partridges have become more popular on some of the shoots. But I find that partridges are a bit more flighty, and they'll run on. Personally, any more questions? Come on, we got 20 people in here. 3 thumbs up. With 3 thumbs up. I mean, I was watching that Diary of a Seer, I don't know, in from Dragon's Den, and on every live feed, it's like, look, everyone, please. He's a multi-millionaire, isn't he? Everybody, give me a thumbs up. Could you please subscribe? Could you please, if you don't want to subscribe, don't subscribe. If you don't want to put a thumbs up, don't put a thumbs up. If I'm not worth it, I'm not worth it. Oh, partridges are easier to dizzy. Just saying. What, for training? Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, because they've got a shorter neck, haven't they? Pheasants go like that when you dizzy them. No, you put the wing over the eyes, tuck the head under the wing, and you send it to sleep. I wonder if Adam could do a video on that for us. He could dizzy some partridge for the dog and put the dog out, put the partridge down on its side and bring the dog in and up the partridge, let the partridge get up and let the partridge go back to the pen. How about that? That would be lovely, wouldn't it? That would be lovely for everyone. Susie Two Shoes had a day off today. I'm supposed to be sitting on the internet making videos. And do you know what she does? We go out gardening again. Gardening? You think I was freaking Alan Titmarsh?
Alan.
Who?
Alan.
I said Alan.
I thought you said Adam.
I didn't say Adam Titmarsh. It's Adam Hudson. I said Adam's a tit sometimes, but I never said he's a marsh. Any questions? Has anybody got any questions? There must be someone in here. We got 21 people in here. There must be somebody with some questions. No. It's only 30 minutes in, so I've lost all thought pattern what to talk about. Completely.
We're talking half an hour of hunting patterns.
Oh, she said we've been talking for half an hour about hunting and patterns. I think Adam needs to explain about dizzying partridge for people who just don't know what dizzying partridge means. I think if this was one of those, is it Farmers Weekly? Did you watch that? There's a program on just before we come out about Cumbria, about Pennines, about. Did you watch it? Some lovely country up there, isn't there? Just off Kendal, just lovely, isn't it? Hey, up on hill, eh? Some lovely ground up there, isn't there? So has anybody got anything interesting to tell me, or anything of any interest you'd like me to talk about? I mean, crack on, you tell me. That would be good to see, Adam. There you go. I did tell you. I'll try and do a video. Yeah. We could call it One Man and His Partridge. How about that? I could dizzy oh, I tell you what. I emptied a chest freezer about 2.5 months ago because I had 2 big freezers full of game, and I took as much as I could out of the chest freezer, used it for training with other people, and then put the other game in carrier bags. Like, so I got 2 pheasants in a carrier bag, 2 duck, a couple of partridge, a couple of rabbits, some squirrels, and I put them in carrier bags, and I put them in the freezer. So anyway, because I was getting the one freezer, I put as many as I could into the newer freezer. One was an ice cream freezer, so it was quite big. We used to pull back the lid and then scoop out ice cream when you were a kid. Remember them? Is it a chest freezer? And then, quail. Oh, here we go. Look, he's onto quail as well now. Yes, Michael McLaughlin, point 'em any like the pigeons for dizzying. I like dizzying pigeons. I think pigeons are great fun for dizzying. And they're a freaking lot cheaper. Well, it depends who you are, doesn't it? Depends who you are. Adam uses quail. He uses honestly. What was I talking? Oh, the freezers. Yeah. So anyway, I loaded up my freezer in the garage and absolutely jammed it back. It was hardly any. I could hardly close the frigging door. I think I had to kick it to close the frigging door. Well, every day I've been walking in the garage. I've been smelling. I kept thinking, gosh, who's just had a not one in the kennel, because the kennel is part of next to the garage, and there's just a gate between the two, so the dogs can't get into the kennel with all the tools and everything. Anyway, I thought, well, who's freaking just crapped in the kennel? So I looked down the kennel a number of times. None of them have. They've been out all day in the yard, at the back. I brought them in. None of them have. My freezer is jam-packed with food. It smells awful. Exactly. Awful. He's been using tripe. So I saw a pigeon sitting on the tree yesterday. So I got the air rifle, shot the pigeon. Thought, great. Let it cool down. I want to put it in the freezer. So it goes out, opens the freezer, and I swear I was gagging like a freaking. I was gagging like a choir boy with a vicar. The freezer had frozen up at the top because there's no circulation in the freezer. It was that jam packed, and it created ice. It was a bit like freaking that icing that sank the Titanic. It had opened the fridge door, the freezer door. The ice had expanded and opened the freezer door just about a quarter of an inch, and I didn't realize it was open. I moved all the tools that were at the side of it. That would be spades, forks, rakes, hose, freaking all this gardening shit we got. It's unreal. And I then realized the fridge had been open for a while. And with the fridge being open, it actually ice packed itself so much. It was like that thing that sunk the Titanic. There was that much ice in there. It's one of them that frost free, no freaking ice in there. It was quite reasonably modern. And I opened it up and I've got jellied game in liquid. Luckily, it's all in carrier bags. If it wasn't in carrier bags, it would have been freaking the smelliest soup. Anyway, I was gagging. I was. So I had to freaking dump it into food bags. Now, has anybody ever thought, where are you going to get rid of that? I had to dig a frigging hole to bury game in because it was that freaking bad. If the police come round in the garden and someone reports me for freaking digging a hole and they can smell freaking death Fox food, said Adam. Yeah, exactly. Fucking fox food. I tell you what, the smell was absolutely atrocious. And my kids, my daughter and her sons, have been coming into the garden and going through the garage and saying, "Oh, I can smell dog shit. I can smell dog shit." It wasn't. It was death. It was death through the door. It just through the ice had literally gone right round the door and made its own seal eventually, and opened up the door. But literally, I keep smelling it and thinking, you know what I mean? I've been in this game for a long time. You can smell death. You know what death smells like. But I couldn't. It wasn't quite the same. And it must have been for the fact it was still in a freezer that was cold but not circulating round. It couldn't circulate. So anyway, just thought I'd tell you that story. It's been great fun. Been great fun digging a frigging hole and burying frigging game. If the police come round and dig up that hole, they're going to think there's 17 bodies in there. Imagine that. We didn't find a head, but we found lots of bones, and we're looking through it. Digging through it. There you go. Fox food, says Adam. That's the way. Fox food. Yeah. The trials and errors of being a gundog, man, eh? Check your freezer. Tell him it's your compost heap. Yeah, great. How long does it take for compost to break down into good quality compost when you take your stuff, your cuttings, and put it all in a pile in your compost? How long? Come on, don't Google it, Graham. Come on, yeah, Fred West of Duck and Pheasant World. Yeah. I might concrete over it. I mean, Graham knows how to do that, doesn't he? He's a fan of Fred West. Let's go down that road again. For God's sake, Steve. We don't want to go down that road. Anyway, how was your holiday, Steve? Was it all right? Did you have a good holiday? And have you been seeing our friend? Months and months of quality worms.
And quality worms.
What?
Months and quality worms. Because it's the worms that break it down.
Oh, lovely. Lovely. So where the friggin' hell going to get the worms then, Greg? The quality worms. I've just got normal worms. Okay, what I've got a friggin' mole. Still can't get that bastard. Months and months of quality worms. What about maggots? What if I just threw the birds on top? Fishing shop. What? Lugworm? You go for lugworms? I could go and dig them out the estuary in my boots, can I? Disappear like those freaking fishermen. Very nice. What? His
holiday was very nice, and no, we haven't seen Soul for ages.
Not Soul. Not Soul. Mr. Loaded. Mr. Loaded. Is it got a Porsche, hasn't he? Got a Porsche. He probably turns up in an escort van for you, Steve. Breasted out? What the friggin' hell's Michael McLaughlin all about now? I don't know. Give me some more wine, for God's sake. I need some more freaking wine. 39 minutes gone, and all I've got is breasted out. Breasted out what? Take the breasts off the pheasants. Actually, I've had it where the freezer's gone before in the past, and you open up the freezer when it's gone completely, and in the summer, and there's maggots coming out. You know, flies and maggots in the freezer. How the hell? I said to my mate, how the hell did that fly get into the freezer when the freezer was shut? He says, are you freaking thick? I said, I'm joking. And then all of a sudden, I got some pheasant wings on a beam above my head at my old place, drying them out. We're standing there chatting underneath because it was raining under the carport, whatever it is, where the kennels was, and on the beam where the wings were drying out, all of a sudden a maggot drops off the beam as we're talking and lands on my shoulder, and I go, "Frickin' hell, how did that get there?" As a joke. And my mate says, "Up that post, along that beam, and then down over there." You can't make this shit up, can you? Yes, I had Mike down on Saturday morning for training. Oh, lovely. How's he getting on? Porsche with Springer on the passenger seat. That's the way. I didn't want to mention his name in case he didn't want to be mentioned, but Steve mentioned him, Mike. But his name's not Mike, it's Michael. But then it's not Michael, it's somebody else in it 1 minute.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. He changes his name every 2 minutes. But a great laugh, isn't he? He's a great laugh and great fun. Now, Steve, I think we're on holiday. Did you hear about Sol? You haven't seen him for ages. Did you hear about him? He said he had a fast dog. Yeah.
Only when he's in the pond.
Yeah. Fastest dog on four wheels. Steve, are you there still? Did you hear about Sol, Steve? He's not there. He's left. He's gone to the fridge to get another beer.
He's old. He's one finger typing.
He's old. He's one finger typing.
There you go. I told you.
He's old. He's one finger typing. If I told you, Steve, I'd have to kill you. Not on here. We'll have to tell you off air. Everybody knows. Honestly, it's unbelievable. I have a serious question. Have you had it? That makes a change. Crack on, darling. Crack on. We're all ears.
Yeah, waiting for this.
Have you ever had a problem with condensation in the back of your pickup dog vehicle? Only when I've been humping the gamekeeper's daughter. Adam. What's happened? Steve, I told you, I'd have to kill you on it if I told you. He's all right. He's all right. Don't worry. He's not nothing horrible. Nothing horrible. I don't mean you to be panicking. No, he's okay. He's still alive. He's still going strong. Hopefully. Have you ever had a problem with condensation in the back of your pickup dog vehicle? No, Adam. And the reason I haven't is he said he wanted to ask a sensible question, and there's me give him a silly answer. Steve, he declared his love and is married, Gary. Honestly, I just spread rumors. Honestly, you could ruin marriages, you know. You could ruin relationships with you boys spreading rumors. Right?
He asked a sensible question, then back to normal.
Yeah, back to normal. He didn't last very long. I was just about to answer his sensible question. Right. Thank God for gay marriage, eh, everyone? Honestly, it gets worse on here, you lot. Honestly, you lot, stop laughing.
I don't know where he gets it from.
Go back to the condensation. My new truck is terrible for condensation. What new truck have you got, Adam? What did you buy? Adam, have you won the pools or something lately? Have you won the football? Have you had flutter on 7 horses or something with all the things you're buying? My new truck, my new pickup. What is it? What is it? I was just about to talk about condensation.
And you said, yeah, because you said the reason why I don't.
Yeah, the reason.
See, you come back with a stupid question.
Yeah, see what I'm saying? I'm trying to answer the freaking question. You're coming back with stupid questions, and she's repeating herself. And it's like freaking like, if it's not a stupid question, it's in the background, repeat itself, just as I'm trying to answer the freaking question. It was a funny answer. Yeah, everyone laughing. So let's go back to the condensation. Right. I've always put vents in, Adam, because then you don't get condensation. And I normally go down to a chandler, a marine place, because on boats they get condensation problems. So they like to put a little fan on that works off solar panel and goes round and round with the sun. The spinny roof vents. Yeah, I've done them as well. But it's not blowy. The spinny roof vents don't work when you're stationary. They work when you're going down the road. They spin it. But no, they're like little round solar vents. You see them on the top of boats, especially on the forehatch, things like that. And what happens? It lets that air flow in there. If you get a wave over, you don't get loads of water in because it's. But if the boat turned upside down, I think it would get water in. I think it would flood rather quickly. But not. I have had the spinny ones, but the spinny ones are great if it's blowy. But if it's not blowy, they ain't working. But the one that I use from the Chandlers is because they've got a solar. They've got like a little solar panel on the top of them that spins the fan all the time. So if I open the back, I can hear the fan spinning in my Toyota, and I've never had a problem. That's the only vent it's got, and it seems to keep all condensation out and keep it reasonably cool in there for the dogs. Reasonably cool. My other vehicle, I put vents down the side from a boat, from a speed boat, that when it's going forward, it lets all the condensation, not so water doesn't come back inside. It's at the back of the boat, but it did look a bit like a glorified speedboat. And people say, freaking hell, where do you get those vents from? The Mary Celeste. Did I send you a link? I've got one. Well, yeah, no problem. I can probably do that. Yeah, no problem. Yeah. But I find boat chandlers are fantastic for doing loads of little jobs if you want to do little jobs, because, but then again, you have a problem if you don't live near a freaking sea. It's hard to find a chandler, isn't it? So, we got 47 minutes here. We got a few minutes left, and we have been talking about dogs on a quite well today. We've been covering some good subjects. So shall we just finish off? Who enjoyed the football? Who thought Southgate did a brilliant job in the end? Do you honestly think he did a brilliant job? You know, feel free to give your opinion. Feel free. I mean, did you miss me? No. I thought Chandler was from Friends. Didn't know they did boats. Hang on, Nigel Moore, no. You don't think Southgate did a good job? They often do better kit than DIY. The dinghy. If they missed a few. Yes, great job. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Michael.
Michael would say that.
Great job. Freaking didn't win. Thanks, Michael. Was that a smiley face as in taking the piss? He did a great job. I think that the way he was criticised and the way the players were criticised when they weren't playing well, and the way they said, hey, this is not what we signed up for. It wasn't what I signed up for, to be honest with you. It was time consuming watching the football, you know, and then all of a sudden the world changed, didn't it? Like, Southgate's got us to the final. It's absolutely fantastic. I think we got to the final with the skin of our teeth, didn't we? And at what point did somebody turn into a superstar? There was a couple of great goals. I think it kept us on the edge of our seat. I think it was emotional. I think it was a roller coaster. Steve said, no, he was too negative with his tactics. Now they've said that England could win the World Cup, but not now because Southgate's not with them. He hasn't won anything. I mean, it's like Brian Clough, isn't it? Imagine Brian Clough was telling everyone they're fucking useless and you'd never get anywhere in life without they wouldn't make him England manager. But guess what? He won things, didn't he? He got clubs that were like second clubs and won big trophies, didn't he? He moved clubs up, make them super clubs. But let's be honest, Southgate never actually won anything. But did we have the good feeling factor? Was he sort of? Did anyone listen to his resignation letter? Somebody read it out on the news, and I listened to it. Frickin' hell, you want to give that bloke a freaking tufty badge, don't you? You want to give him a, if he was in the Scouts, you'd give him a freaking gold star, wouldn't you? Is that what they do, gold star? Because he's such a diplomat, isn't he? He's such a nice bloke. But does nice get you a win sometimes? Do you not need to be a little bit more sort of brutal, a bit more determined, driven? And I can see the qualities in him in some ways.
In rugby, no. But football, they've got fairies, haven't they? So.
Oh my God, she's kicking off in the background about fairies now.
Use cotton wool with them.
You can't use the word fairies in football, Sue.
I just did.
Honestly, she's terrible.
They've got to wrap them in cotton wool and football.
I personally think it was nerve-wracking. It was embarrassing. It was an adrenaline buzz in a way that we kept making a comeback. I mean, we went 1-0 down against Spain. And I didn't think personally that they were that far behind Spain at one point. And then once we came back with that lovely, lovely goal, and they started really charging at Spain, I'm thinking, come on, boys, we're going there. And I'm shouting like a freaking teenager at the telly, as if I was in the freaking stands, like, in terraces. And then it all went down freaking hell again. So I personally think, should we award heroes losers, or should we say thanks for having a go? We got to 2 finals, but we didn't do it. Time to move on and find somebody else. Give somebody else a go. So did he do the right thing by resigning? Because I listened to this radio program, and they said, we're not going to win the World Cup now because he's not going to take the younger team through. He's got such a brilliant young team, and we could easily win the World Cup. I think in the World Cup is completely different to winning European, don't you? Or am I wrong? I mean, I'm not a football expert, trust me. I support my wife and my children. That's the only club I've got. I do like Scotland with the rugby, though. But then again, that's painful. That's painful. So I was going to ask Nigel a question. I was listening to something earlier today. There's a word in German for wishy-washy, inconsistent, not positive. There's a word they use the word. It's a German word, and I was thinking of the word I wanted to use for a video. And I wonder if Nigel might know the word in German. Better teams in the world are in Europe. Hey,
Europe is harder to win than World Cup.
Is it?
Better teams in the world are in Europe. Best teams in the world are in Europe. Yeah, he's probably right there, isn't he?
What, Brazil?
They've had their day.
They've had their day, Susie Two Shoes says. Right. Oh, right. Okay. Thinking, says Nigel Moore. That's not the word, but you're thinking. I know what you mean. We've obviously sort of not really sort of got on with many people tonight. We had 20 people in earlier. We've only got 13. We've got 7 thumbs up, but 13 people in here. I sometimes wonder. Less European teams in the World Cup. I tell you what, Ireland's women won, didn't they? That's unusual for Ireland, isn't it? They won, didn't they? They beat one of the good teams, but I think they rested all their players, didn't they? I think, did they win 2-1 or 3-1 or something like that? I watched the England girls yesterday for one reason, not for football, for the body shape. I'm getting old. I'm a perv. And some of them Swedish girls, they were lovely. They were lovely. They looked like, oh, they were lovely. I think that's not the word, Nigel, but it's very interesting. All right, I'm not going to try and pronounce it. I could get myself into trouble if I try to pronounce that, being dyslexic. Anyway, I'll try and find the conversation, pick out the word, and ask you to sort of repeat it in German for me, Nigel. If we can find that, that would be very interesting. That would be coming from our German contacts. And was it not too much violence there, Nigel, in Germany with football? Is everybody calmed down these days with the old football? There wasn't too much. You didn't hear anything about football violence, did you? Or people really kicking off years ago. It was nothing but a good piss up of a fight, wasn't it? There may have just been little fractions. Oh, here we go. Don't know I'm in Norway. I should have guessed. Nigel, you live in Germany. You were in Germany where the football was on. Just because you're in Norway now, the football's finished. Is it cold, Nigel? Is it cold in Norway at the moment? Or is it like in t-shirt and freaking shorts in Norway? Are you skiing? Have you got a rifle on your back and you're plowing your way across the ice like in Ice Station Zebra? Remember that film, Ice Station Zebra? I don't think that was anywhere near Norway, was it? Or was it? You'll have to tell me, Nigel. I'm not too up on that. Anyway, we got literally 2.5 minutes left, so I want to thank you all for tuning in. It's been emotional watching the footy here, bloody freezing and rain. Fishing. What? You're fishing? You've gone to Norway to do fishing? Bloody hell. Yep, he's gone to do fishing. Have you caught anything other than a cold, Nigel? Hey? Come on, Nigel, the show's yours. That's it. What are you fishing for, Nigel? Hookers. No, he's using no hookers. Fishing for hookers. Stop it. Nigel, have you froze? Are you sitting outside a freaking hole? You drill a hole and you trout? Trout? I don't know. It's a long way to go, isn't it? Yeah. Have you not tried the fishmongers? Have you not gone down the fishmongers? You can get on ice. Well, I didn't realise you're into fishing as well, Nigel. You're a freaking sportsman. I bet you're freaking dropping hand grenades, aren't you? Down the freaking hole, blowing them out of the water. Hey? You're not using sights on there. You're not using... Hey, Nigel, can you tell us anything about this shooter of Trump who took his ear? Can you tell us anything about the caliber of gun he was using? He was a bit close, wasn't he? They reckon 10-year-old boys could hit the target from where he was shooting, and he missed Trump's head. They reckon because the policeman disturbed him, he let him off all too fast. Because he was going pop, 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 because he'd been disturbed and been seen by a police officer on the roof. But Did you notice the marksman didn't miss him, did they? I wonder if it was 1 shot or 10. No idea. Can't have been too good. Bean. Can't have been. Ooh, the shooter.
No idea the count of being too good.
Ooh, the shooter.
Mm.
Yeah, from that distance. Yeah.
No, he just picked it. Unfortunately, picked it or something.
But I don't think it was a conspiracy theory. Does anybody else think it was a conspiracy theory before we go? Does anybody actually think it was a conspiracy theory or just some freaking nut job that's been watching freaking too many video games again? Hey, on that note, they won't have to freaking question him, will they? It's all over. Nut job, exactly. Nut job. Hey, on that note, I want to thank you all for tuning in. It's been emotional. It's been hard work thinking, what can I talk about tonight? We've not seen you for so long, and yet we had so much we could have gone into, isn't it? Could have spoke about so many other things, couldn't we? No one mentioned the women's football except me. Everybody kept quiet. So obviously the women's football, 0-0, but they got through. They've qualified. I think you've been drinking, Nigel. Don't say butt job. You just said nut job, and then you said butt job. That sounds dirty. Nigel wants to finish on a dirty note, everybody. So good night, everybody. Bollocks you all. Thanks for tuning in. And we'll leave the last word for Nigel. Butt job. I don't want to know what you're doing in freaking. Good night. Stay safe. And bollocks. Good night, Tracy. She's even sent a love heart. Oh, no, that was me. There you go. There you go.
Too much gin, bollocks.
Too much gin. It's all right for some, innit, eh? Good night, all. Nigel the gin to keep himself warm.